What is every class's best MvM upgrade? It's a surface-level question that appears easy to answer, but it's actually far more complicated than one would expect. How much does the upgrade enhance the class's viability? Does it open up new vectors of gameplay that otherwise wouldn't exist? What's more important, mitigating a class's weak points or emphasizing their specialties? All of these factors were taken into account when evaluating each lineup. Now, just because an upgrade might be the best doesn't necessarily mean you should max it out right from the jump. Mario might have a mean forward air, but that doesn't mean it should be the only attack you use. Same premise here. And finally, we're going to be looking at how these upgrades are applied across an aggregate of different playstyles and skill distributions, rather than each class's absolute peak potential. While there's a lot of overlap between what's optimal for noobs and what's optimal for veterans, that Venn diagram is hardly a circle. Unlike Opera GX, the sponsor of today's video. Opera GX is easily the most resource-efficient browser out there. Take a look at how much less RAM it uses compared to Chrome and Firefox. These performance increases become even better through the GX control panel, which allows you to limit both your CPU and RAM usage. If you're prone to dropping frames in-game while watching something in the background or on another monitor, Opera GX can put that issue to bed. On top of that, they offer a crap ton of customization options via the GX mods, which completely change the way your browser looks and feels. There's even a TF2 themed one that comes with different wallpapers, color palettes, and in-game sound effects alongside background music. You can, of course, adjust each of them to fit your own personal preference. The GX Corner is your one-stop shop to keep up to date with new gaming releases, deals, news articles, and the past year's worth of content from yours truly, though only through my link below. Making the transition is extremely easy, as Opera GX comes with a built-in import tool, allowing you to instantaneously copy over all of your previous browser settings. Frankly, the CPU limiter on its own was enough for me to make the switch. Be sure to click the link in the description below and give Opera GX a try. Alright, on to the upgrades. Of every class in the game, Scout's best upgrade might be the hardest to pin down. A lot of newbier support Scouts would probably go with Resistances, as they're a key player in the Scout's longevity. I don't disagree per se, but each one is conditional to specific wave layouts, and Scout's money overheal mechanic can supplement them entirely if you play your cards right. It's best to sprinkle them in if you're ever worried of dying, but gradually weaving Resistances out of your build will serve you better in the long run. On the other end of the spectrum, we could go with Damage or Clip Size, the two best upgrades for the two best scatterguns. But remember, we're dealing with the breadth of player competency here, and there's no easier way for an ordinary Scout player to get trampled than going balls deep into the damage tree. You're just too frail to keep that death count low without knowing how to navigate it, which not only impairs your milking, marking, and money collecting duties, but it also means you're spending less time in the robot's faces, which paradoxically lowers your damage output. Across all styles of play, I think movement speed is the most universally beneficial. From a defense perspective, it makes avoiding oncoming damage and traversing the map for money overheal even easier, which can shore up a lack of investments in resistances or jump height. From an offense perspective, movement speed is a gap closer. It lets Scout rush in as close as possible, as quickly as possible, in order to achieve maximum damage ramp up. This also applies to Fano War Swings, and to a lesser extent Mad Milk as well. Movement speed inadvertently provides more uptime with these utilities. It's the only upgrade that's beneficial across every dimension of Scout's gameplay, so that's why I'm calling it the best. Soldier has one of the more generous upgrade routes in the game. It might take him a while to get up to speed, but around almost every corner, there's a damage buff to be found. Each one's effectiveness varies based on what rocket launcher you're going with, but for my baby beggars, we can't be choosing anything other than reload speed. Remember when I said, don't max out the best upgrade right from the jump? Well, I lied. If you're leaving even one tick of reload speed to the wayside with the beggars, you're keeping so much bread on the table. I actually went extremely in depth on why this upgrade works so well with the beggars mechanics in one of my earlier videos, but for the sake of brevity, for the minute cost of only 750 credits, you double your damage output for the rest of the mission. That's an increase unmatchable by every other rocket launcher in the game. Even when upgrading max reload and max firing speed, they still come up short when compared to the beggars. It single-handedly eliminates Soldier's biggest weakness, mediocrity in the early game, and lets him maximize the potential of the beggar's bottomless clip no matter the situation. Even with all of the other rocket launchers, reload speed is still number one. Soldier's primary focus revolves around sustained AoE damage, and regardless of primary, it'll always do the most heavy lifting in that regard. The race is much tighter among the other rocket launchers though, enough to where diversifying your credit investments can be more favorable. When you think of pyro and overpowered upgrades, everyone's mind goes towards Explode on Ignite. It jacks up Pyro's crowd control to newfound heights, lets him kill Uber medics, which was like the one thing he couldn't do, it's always available from Wave 1, and it only gets even more spammable as the waves progress. And yet, I'm still gonna go with the basic bitch damage upgrade. Look, I know it's a boring answer, and probably controversial given how easy it is to doo-doo fart your way through an entire mission, but hear me out. While the gas aids plenty in the domains of low-risk crowd control and killing Uber medics, it does virtually nothing against giants and literally nothing against tanks. For the jack-of-all-trades role Pyro is known for, those are some crucial shortcomings. Maybe not in the context of a secondary weapon alone, but definitely when looking at the class's entire arsenal. On the contrary, damage upgrades are favorable in literally every position Pyro will find himself in. Giants, tanks, and crowd control. By proxy, it also buffs the gas passer. As you increase your damage, you simultaneously increase the ease of recharge. The same principle applies to your main survivability upgrade, health on kill. The more small robots you take out, the more of a health leeching vampire you become. You got your main course, extra sides, and free refills. Sounds like a good deal to me. Like the updated MvM tier list, we're gonna evaluate the demo's best options across all of his different playstyles. The sticky demo is the easiest to pin down, as the class is pretty much a soldier without legs. Literally. So it's no shock that their champ wears the same belt. Reload speed. Same reasons apply. A sticky demo's main role is chucking as much shit at the wall as possible, and over a mission's totality, the decreased reload downtime puts in more work than all of the other offensive upgrades. For the demo knight, we gotta go with his signature perk. Crits on kill. No other class in the game has access to this upgrade, and that's for good reason. It's the only thing keeping Demo Knight even remotely viable. Not much else to say, you're given a free crit canteen for every kill, which any class, no matter how poor their single target DPS, would no doubt appreciate. I don't want to undersell the other melee upgrades. Both health on kill and damage increases are integral ingredients to the Demo Knight pie, but the former can be partially mitigated via shield resist or the built-in health on kill of the half Zatoichi, and the damage upgrade overlaps heavily with the crit swings. It helps you do more giant damage and does surpass the threshold to one-shot soldiers and heavies, but crits on kill will do literally everything else, so that's why it's on top. And for the meta Scottish resistance playstyle, I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball and say the best upgrade is actually the crit canteen. Demo at his best is all about setting up as many one-shot piles as can be placed, and the upgrades that spearhead the ability to accomplish that are clearly the best. Nothing else even comes close to moving the needle as much as crit canteens. You legitimately start to forget you're on a 6-man team with how little the rest of them are able to contribute. His other upgrades do make the job easier, notably firing speed, reload speed, and clip size, but they're mainly used to squeeze every last microsecond out of a crit canteen's uptime, rather than the more general sustainability most classes buy them for. Damage upgrades are also effective, in fact, too effective. An unmodified sticky pile with 10 of them being crit boosted will do around 4,000 damage. For reference, giant pyros have 3,000 health, giant soldiers around 4,000, giant medics have 4,500, and giant heavies around 5,000. So even if we factor in the occasional unpredictable movement that'll obstruct damage, you'll still only need 2, at most 3 ticks of the damage upgrade to one-shot every giant in the game with crits. The crit canteen never has the problem of falling off. So long as there's a giant on the way, it'll always have itself a use. For heavy, the default choice is obviously firing speed. Unlike every other DPS class in Man vs. Machine, heavy doesn't have a wide selection of DPS increasing abilities. Firing speed is the only non-situational option he has. And seeing as all heavy does is shoot, increasing those bullets per second does wonders for his viability. Even with the second tick being entirely bugged, it's still the upgrade that all of his other credit investments orbit around. Resistances were definitely the runner-ups, as the heavy will be tanking more enemy firepower than every other class by far, but he's also the largest beneficiary of medi-beams, dispensers, and mad milk, so shaving down those damage mitigations is a regular occurrence. For the record, this also applies to health on kill. Sure, on the early waves, it's extremely valuable. In fact, I usually kick off each mission with 2 points of health on kill instead of the 10% firing speed bonus. But usually by wave 3, the latter becomes the main credit sink. I also want to give a shout out to the sleeper top tier pick of ammo refill canteens. It's actually crazy just how much more versatile these allow you to be. Though, admittedly, this one's effectiveness is predicated upon whether or not your team's NG is asleep at the wheel, so it too can be very situational. But a 40% damage increase a la max firing speed, that'll never not be worth it. Engineer probably has the best upgrade selection in the game. It's kinda ludicrous just how much he gets to play with. Upgrade canteens to avoid any semblance of downtime, two-way teleporter for a portable upgrade station, Widowmaker firing speed for easy tank busting, building health making wrangled sentries virtually unkillable, metal capacity for less reliance on ammo crates. NG's got every toy in the box. Yet, the basic act of increasing dispenser range is more of a game changer than all of them put together. This might just be the single greatest utility upgrade in the game, and it being only 300 credits to fill means there will never be a wave where it isn't available. A max range dispenser just makes everything so much more convenient for your team. It basically invalidates the entire concept of ammo management within the game mode. Dispensers have this perk independent of the radius upgrade, sure, but because ammo is an otherwise very scarce resource in Man vs. Machine, all of your teammates just end up gangbanging the fridge in a desperate attempt to keep themselves up. Inevitably, like bees to a hive, it only takes one spray for your entire group to get wiped out. Dispenser range completely eliminates this worry, so your teammates are free to chew through ammo until the tendinitis kicks in. It also allows you to consistently achieve damage ramp up without retreating for ammo as often, and grants the ability to generate health and ammo from the uppermost sections of each map. There are probably even more positives I'm overlooking, but realistically, giving every weapon in the game an infinite ammo stat was enough to secure the win. Medic, despite having a similarly great roster of upgrades, doesn't have as much of a clear-cut gold medalist. The two standouts are between Projectile Shield, his greatest defensive cooldown, and Canteen Specialist, his greatest offensive cooldown, whether that be in the form of crit canteens, or instead opting for invulnerability to get 4 taps of the Ubersaw, and thus a fully prepped crit scree. The shield is best against hot showers of looming projectiles. Canteens are better against giants and bosses. The shield isn't always online, while canteens are always available on demand but come with a usage limit. Canteens help amplify a high tour's ability to one-man the mission, while the shield gives more leeway for making mistakes in low tour lobbies and opens up AoE strats via shield bashing. Look, after weighing the variables and going back and forth multiple times, I'm deadlocked. I think we're just gonna call this one a tie, because these two upgrades might have the strongest synergy of any two abilities in the game. Fun fact about Projectile Shield: the more damage your heal target is doing, the more charge your shield meter generates. So by sharing a crit canteen in the middle of a fight, you're usually also getting another shield on cooldown at the same time. More projectile shields means more teammate survivability. More teammate survivability means more opportunities to use canteens. And more canteens means more projectile shields. Perfecting this dance is the hallmark of a good medic player, and you can't do it on one foot. So both upgrades can share the podium. Sniper, on the other hand, has no such problem. Explosive Headshot has the king of all strangleholds over the competition. There's a compelling case to be made that Explosive Headshot is the single most influential upgrade in all of Man vs. Machine. It's the entire basis for Sniper's viability. Upon each click of the head, you'll do a minimum of 150 damage to all surrounding enemies, enough to at least two-shot every small robot in the game, including Uber Medics, which makes him well fit for the job. Mechanically, nothing else in Sniper's wheelhouse even comes close to Explosive Headshot. Yes, reload speed is what allows its maximum potential to be fulfilled and should always be maxed out as soon as you've bought your first point. But without this upgrade existing, that benefit is completely moot. Sniper isn't a class with Explosive Headshot. Sniper is Explosive Headshot. Without it, he goes from arguably the most broken DPS class in the game to a bottom tier vote kick magnet. And I don't expect much disagreement on this one, if any at all. Oh yeah, there's a 9th class. Luckily, Spy's best upgrade is also an extremely easy choice, but judging by the tooltip, you might assume otherwise. Spy's forte in Man vs. Machine is all about giant killing. It's the one thing he excels at within the game mode more than any other class. Like Explosive Headshots in the AoE realm for Sniper, armor penetration is the foundation of all of Spy's single target massacres. Now, due to a bunch of MvM specific mechanics relating to backstab damage calculations, the upgrade functions very differently than it appears on paper. By default, a Spy's non-upgraded backstab will only do 187.5 damage. However, despite the description stating that the upgrade increases backstab damage by only 25%, in reality, each tick of the armor pen upgrade increases your backstab damage by another 187.5. A 100% increase of its original value. This peaks at a maximum of 937 damage. Enough to kill every giant in the game in 6 backstabs or less. You know, if you don't get decked by the surrounding robots by trying to reenact the Bowser fights from Mario 64. Like reload speed for the rifles, knife attack speed is much of what allows him to make the most of this upgrade. But without armor pen, Spy would have literally nothing. No crowd control, no tank busting, no giant killing. If you're of the belief that Spy is unviable in his current state, not having armor pen would leave him completely stranded. And if even a god-awful Spy player like myself can realize that, then it must be pretty damn good. So there we have it, every class's best upgrade in Man vs. Machine. If you enjoyed the video and want to see it upgraded in the algorithm, dropping a like, sub, or comment would be very much appreciated. As always, thank you all for watching the video. Twitter and Discord are in the description, and that's all I got. See ya.